they change your mind?
What we had was we had a respectful, we had a very informative, and it was a very good conversation that we had, and as a starting of a good relationship. It really was.
That was West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin walking out of a meeting with civil rights leaders today. The senator called it respectful and constructive, but his Democratic colleagues aren't too happy. Sunday, Manchin announced that he would oppose For the People Act, that is. The bill would roll back some restrictive voting rights legislation being passed by states across the country. With the Democrats needing every vote in the Senate to pass legislation, Manchin's support is essential to the bill passing. Unless the Democrats get rid of the filibuster, something Manchin has also indicated he's been unwilling to do. All right, so here to talk about all of this is BNC contributor and political commentator Tezlyn Figaro. Joins us to break all of this down. Hey, Tezlyn.
Hey, Yodit. Glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, so it may be obvious to some, but tell us why it is so critical that this bill passes.
Well, it's obviously critical because all of our voting rights, or they're at stake. That is the reason why Republicans all over this country are trying to reverse everything possible to make sure that Democrats do not keep a stronghold on the House on next year in the midterms. In addition to that, we're not doing a great job, or at least I would say they, because I'm independent. Democrats are not doing a great job by making sure that we continue to energize the vote to make folks want to go out and vote, besides just saying our ancestors died for it, by failing to push the policies forward. So with the combination of those things, voter suppression and voter depression on how people are feeling right now, we can't afford to lose on either side. We need the ability to be able to vote, and we need the policy to motivate people to vote.
Now, Senator Manchin says he will support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act as an alternative. Before we get into some of the differences between the bills, take a listen to what Senator Raphael Warnock from Georgia had to say about the significance of both pieces of legislation.
We need the John Lewis Voting Rights Act because it has the powerful tool called pre-clearance, which will protect future elections. But we've got to find a way to protect the assault on democracy that's happening right now, and John Lewis alone will not do that.
And that doesn't change.
Okay, so Tezlyn, just to piggyback off of his comments there, what are some of the key differences in the bills?
Well, I mean, just like you just said, we have different, when we look at the assault on democracy, when we look at, being able to not give folks water, when we look at the ability to ask for more restrictions for folks to be able to vote, both of them, I mean, you could go down to the specifics and say, well, this one has this and that one has this, but the bottom line is both of them protect voting rights. And the bottom line is Democrats voted in this administration and they won't both pass. So getting into this discussion on, well, let's take a little bit of this and a little bit of that is very similar to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. The nerve of Joe Manchin to negotiate on behalf of all of the Democrats that have asked for this policy, that voted this administration in for this policy, it is not up to him. But of course, he's utilizing his power that way because we are allowing it. And when I say we, I'm not talking about you and I, our voters, or independent or Democrat, those who lean left. I'm talking about this administration. This is up to Joe Biden, to be able to say, listen, if you do not move the way we want you to move, we will move you off those committees. We cannot control Joe Manchin being in office. His voters vote him in. But what we can control is being able to shame him, what I know Democrats don't love doing, shame him and move him off of those committees. For him to have a meeting today with civil rights leaders and say that, hey, I'm not moved by what literally, Yodit, the title said, he is not moved by civil rights leaders. And then we come out singing old Negro spirituals about how we won't be moved. And yet we don't have a payback, a consequence, and a repercussion. That falls on us. We need to move him off these committees and stop being so afraid of Joe Manchin becoming a Republican, because I got news for you. He's already a Republican. You cannot lose what you never had. And that is what the issue is. He's going to block everything, period. Mitch McConnell's going to block everything, period. It's time to remove his power and move forward with our voters. And if we don't win, at least allow the voters to see that you're fighting like hell, because that's what's going to determine 2022 with them being able to even maintain the power that they have.
Now, some Democrats are saying that they're going to work with Manchin on a compromise. Now, I'm sort of confused because I don't know what there is to compromise on when it comes to access to the ballot box.
Well, because there is no compromise. I'm trying to figure out why we compromising, period. That's what I'm trying to figure out. We organized around this saying that, hey, we're going to take Joe Biden because he's better than Trump. And then we said we're going to give them the Senate because in order to have the Senate, we need to be able to have the tools. And now we're saying compromise. Mm-hmm. Last week, it was compromise on infrastructure. This week is compromise on voting rights. The week before that, it was compromise on George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Why is it that we're doing all the compromising when we allegedly have all the power? This is where the confusion is. And I do want to say this because nobody's saying it on cable news, but let us not forget that Joe Biden also told these same organizations, the Urban League, National Action Network, and NAACP, what he will not be doing. Let's not forget about the leaked tapes. So maybe Joe Manchin feels he can talk to us any kind of way because Joe Biden did it. Let's just be honest about it, Yodit. So until we start demanding the respect, I watched Derek Johnson. I wish he was on this panel today. Maybe him and I we could come back and do a panel. I watched his response and they said, should we take it up to another level? And he said, well, we have to this is a legislative process. So bottom line is, he said he wants to keep begging. And I'm here to say that the people want you to start bossing. No more legislative. He's already said what he's not going to do. Let's take him off these committees and let's move forward. Let's stop chasing them. Let's start replacing them.
So, Tezlyn, Derek Johnson, the president of the NAACP, was one of the civil rights leaders in today's meeting with Senator Manchin, who said he's conflicted, that he believes he understands the importance of making progress, but he feels obligated to adhere to the rules of the Senate. Manchin says we need a bill that will get bipartisan support, so he's going to vote no. Does he really expect that Democrats can get 10 Republicans on board to overcome the filibuster, or is this just an excuse not to support the bill?
It's just an excuse not to support the bill. There's no confliction about this. Joe Manchin represents a conservative leaning district, period. He's pretending to be a Democrat. They made a play for him to pretend to be a Democrat. He went in and now he's clearly working for the Republican Party. There's no confliction. There's no confliction that Democrats are allowing this to happen. There's no confusion about why we're not doing any type of punishment. Trump would never do this. And I'm not saying it because I support President Trump. I'm just saying, look at the difference. When you went against with Trump, when Trump was out there pushing for his policy, not only did he embarrass and shame what they said bully, but he went and made sure that they never got in that seat ever again. Yodit, at some point, we have to be able to be that aggressive about that. It's just that serious. All of the energy that they put behind getting this man elected, the same amount of energy has to be put behind consequences and repercussions. You will not. An article came out just this week saying that Democrats are in trouble. In 2022, it identified Hispanics, Blacks, and Asian Americans as not moving forward, voting Democrat because they want more. And the Asian American community actually just got policy. We haven't got anything. So at the end of the day, it's on us, our leaders, to change this narrative. It's not happening. They're not going to vote on our side. So let's move forward to the consequence side or start writing some executive orders, Joe Biden.
So Democrats are trying to be optimistic, and they're saying that they're going to put this bill up for a vote this month, even if Manchin refuses to budge. What needs to happen between now and then?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Democrats are not being optimistic. They're being weak. Let me just go ahead and clear it up, make sure we're using the right adjectives. Democrats are being weak, period. They're putting up the vote to play the game. We're done playing the game. What needs to happen is you better start moving and put this man off these committees. That's what you need to start doing, Democrats. And you better start making it known and making it clear that you're fighting like hell. We're tired of getting slapped around. I'm tired of listening to our leaders being slapped around like they did on the tapes that were leaked earlier this month when Joe Biden said, you better not tell me what to do. We're over it. Both Joes, Joe Manchin, Joe Biden, Joe whoever, Joe Cool, and everybody else named Joe. We're tired of playing this game. Start moving forward because this generation, the generation of Joshua, not the Joes, we want to move forward to the promised land. And you're going to see better than I can tell you. I've said it repeatedly on this show. Have I not? This week, the article confirmed what I said. So this is on you, Democrats. Do you want to win next year or not? Period, point blank. If not, Republicans are going to take over and it's going to be very hard to get them out between the next 4 to 6 to 8 years.
period, point blank. BNC contributor and political analyst Tezlyn Figaro, thank you again.
Thank you.
Up next on BNC.